as we move on here, something that relates to education and being trained for the right jobs. A lot of people are working maybe in the field that they want to work in, but they are underpaid. They might be qualified, underpaid, they don't get the benefits that they would like. This area in southwest Iowa has a high rate of people having a second job. How do you propose that, what can be done, I guess, is a better way to say it, to create more jobs for people who are qualified in those areas, but not only to create those jobs, but also have a wage where they don't need to have a second job? Mr. Latham.
Well, and that is a great observation, a great question. I will tell you, myself talking to small business people and large business people all over today, it is the very uncertainty that's out there as far as tax policy, as far as regulatory policy, as to why they're not hiring and why they're not growing their businesses today. There was just a survey that came out and said 67% of small businesses have deferred hiring new people or investing in their businesses because they don't know what the taxes are going to be next year. They don't know when the government's going to step up with some new regulation that's going to cost them a tremendous amount of money. The president's health care bill is one great example of dramatically increasing the costs to a small business. And that is really what the problem is. And once we have that certainty, once we understand, and we have an administration that doesn't believe in regulating business out of business and was smart about regulations, we all understand there's got to be regulation in the marketplace. But the fact of the matter is, the current administration has several hundred what they call significant regulations pending. And what they're going to saying basically is wait till the day after the election and we'll bring these down. It's significant regulation is something that costs the economy over $100 million. Some of them cost up in the billions when you look at what they're trying to regulate as far as energy production in this country. But that really is the core of it. We've got to have individuals who are trained for the jobs that are available today, the careers that are out there. I grew up in a town of 168 people, or out in the suburbs, 2 miles out of town on a farm there. But, I know what it is to have to drive to go to work. A lot of our people in rural areas are 15, 20, 30 miles away from their jobs, so gasoline prices have a huge impact as far as their discretionary take-home. We've got to address all of these things as far as energy independence. We've got to have an all-of-the-above energy policy that will actually allow us to hold down those costs. And we could really create good jobs. And what you need to have higher wages is competition. Right now, no one's competing because they are so defensive. A small business today is defensive in that they're trying to hang on to what they have and not putting anything at risk, not hiring more people because of the uncertainty that's out there. We've got to give them certainty, and I think we can be on the verge of a major expansion here. There's in the economy today, in the private sector, nationally, there's about $2 trillion of money sitting on the sideline today that they are not investing because they know that their tax rates are going to go up next year and they don't know what the regulatory scheme is going to be next year.
Well, you talk. The word uncertainty keeps coming up when you actually are participating in creating the uncertainty, because the ag bill, the wind tax credit. My gosh, what more uncertainty! And I think we got to do oversight and review regulation all the time. But my goodness, look what happened to Wall Street and what that did to everybody. Their savings, the greatest, the recession that we're coming through, that we're making progress on, we're coming out of, but on the brink of going into depression that the Republican secretary said would make the Great Depression we read about, know about, that my father started out in, and his working life looked like it was a picnic. The alarm. So we have to have some regulation. And it has to have, again, the test of common sense. Community colleges. We went through that farm crisis I mentioned, late 70s, early 80s, that the whole country didn't really go through. And then we had a drought in there, I believe it was 83, that just about took some of us out. But I realized that community colleges, wow, what an opportunity opportunity for people to come to community college like right here at Southwest or Western and DMAC and others across the country, across the state, what they offer and what they can do to give people their dignity back and get retrained and do it fairly quickly and so on. And it's right here. And I spent a lot of time out with Southwestern years past. Will in the future, I do now. Great colleague of mine in the Iowa Senate was Jack Kibbe, the kind of the father of community colleges, so to speak, and who's about to retire, but his legacy goes on. But community colleges got the opportunity. There's a shortage of welders. You know, it's a high skill and it's a good paying job. And the community colleges can fulfill that, and they're working hard to do it. And that's a very, very good thing. But let's, if you're going to talk about the uncertainty, well, talk about some of the cause of it that you've participated in. And I'd like to get rid of the uncertainty too. And so we can do that, but let's pass that farm bill. Let's pass that wind energy credit. Let's keep that production going and take advantage of it and have the benefits it brings.
A lot of uncertainty, both of you have mentioned, and a lot of uncertainty in reducing the deficits. I don't know who, I think Mr. Boswell, I think it's your turn as we start a new question here, but I guess how do you propose to reduce the deficit?
Well, there's a number of ways, but one of the things that we did touch on, so I won't go back and review it unless you want to, but we said a couple of years ago with that time chairman of the Ag Committee, Peterson, we went across the country and had hearings. Said, you know, this deficit's real, the amnesia how we got there, but we got to deal with it, so Ag too, so farmers, how do you want to do this? And we found out that they were willing to make adjustments. But we had to keep that safety net in federal crop insurance, which I certainly fully support. But, you know, I'm a veteran, a soldier for a long time I was. I believe in a strong defense. Make no mistake about it. Send me off to war. I wanted to be well equipped and trained and so on, and I want our troops to be the same way. But when we've realized that our Department of Defense costs more money than all the rest of the countries in the world, then there's something, seems to me like a little out of balance. And we've had a prominent Secretary of Defense, Gates, not too long ago, say that's that way. So we ought to take a hard look at that, and probably every program. Take a look at it and see what holds. And then we finally got a chance after all this discussion that didn't go anywhere and so on, that, you know, had an open rule that allowed us to have a vote on Simpson-Bowles. And, you know, Senator Simpson, Republican, well-respected, was the Simpson side of it. Erskine Bowles, Chief of Staff for Clinton, was the other side of it. Had a bipartisan mix of people on that committee. And Mr. Ryan, he didn't vote for it, but he wanted to come up with this plan he's got that just will never happen. And I don't there's a number of Republicans talked to me, said, not too sure about that. And the things it would do as it would change priorities. But Simpson-Bowles will be a template. You know, it talks about reductions and efficiencies. At the same time, it consider revenues. And, you know, some folks have signed pledges. They will never raise any taxes. This guy has. I haven't, and I won't. It's just not the way to do things. Well, you know, we pledge, as far as I'm concerned, when we raise our hand and say we're going to support the Constitution. That's good enough. We can do that. And to do an Norquist pledge, I don't think that's necessary. Community colleges will be a big part in what you're talking about, and we've got a great one right here, Southwest.
Congressman Boswell did not vote for Simpson-Bowles. He voted for Latham Turner, which raises taxes $2 trillion, spends $3 trillion, actually puts us another $1 trillion in debt. And it's much different than what Simpson-Bowles was. And there maybe been a serious consideration if, in fact, Simpson-Bowles had been what Congressman Boswell says he voted on, but it wasn't. And it's simply not factual. You know, we have in the military built in today $437 billion of reduction in spending in the Pentagon for the next 10 years. Which is a dramatic change. What they need to do also, I think, is you can't even audit the Pentagon today. It is so huge, so vast that no one's even able to get a handle on it. Well, what we need to have is efficiency, not only in the Pentagon, but throughout the whole federal government. I've introduced legislation called the Less Government Act, which would actually introduce proven private sector practices into the federal government that would actually reduce the administrative costs by at least 25% and actually provide the services more efficiently. The people would actually look at trying to save money inside the government rather than at the end of the fiscal year see how much they can spend so they can get the same amount next year in their budget. We've got to change thinking. We've got to change mindset in Washington, and that's, I think, a big difference in this election. Is Congressman Boswell believes that Washington knows better, and I believe that the people here in this new congressional district know better, that we are the ones that are paying the taxes, that we are the ones that are out there working every day, and that government should get the amount of power that we give Washington, rather than have the idea of the Washington think always coming down on us here. And it's a whole different approach that we have as far as our approach to government.
Well, I got to respond a little bit. You say that's not true. Yeah, the Lauderette, who is moderate, and I guess he's got fed up with the way you guys are running things, so he's not going to continue on. Jim Cooper from Tennessee and others were involved in this, but it was after the Simpson Bowls. I think the reduction is like 2.5. You're appropriator, you probably know about that, to 1 in revenue, where Simpson Bowls itself was like maybe 4 to 1. But again, the idea of that kind of a template to start from and put daylight on it and see what you can do with it, because at least there was a chance for it to be bipartisan, and it's time to do that. And that's what people are talking to us about. They're talking to you about it. They're talking to me about it. Let's have something that's bipartisan, and that has that opportunity. It's going to take something like that, particularly when we think about getting into this sequestration thing that started out with the idea of this super committee last year, and I didn't vote for that. This didn't set priorities for education. It didn't set priorities for a number of things that we know we have to do to be competitive in this world. And so anyway, the Concord Coalition, go online, check out what Concord's all about. It's a bipartisan group that really takes a hard, close look at these things, and Concord says this was a good thing to do, and it does support the Simpson Bowles concept.
If I could just say one thing, I'm amazed. Congressman Boswell multiple times just said that he had voted for Simpson Bowles. And now he said, no, I didn't vote for Simpson Bowles. I voted for an entirely different bill.
I voted for Simpson Bowles. I'll say it again. I
Please
voted for Simpson Bowles. All right? Well, I voted for Simpson Bowles. Don't say something I said I didn't say, or at least don't try to misrepresent it.
But you just said that Simpson Bowles was one thing, and what you voted for was something else after you had multiple times said that you had voted for Simpson Bowles. It's not true.